Hello guys, Vulture speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 899. And today we react to the Very OddGamer episode number 41, Spider-Man the movie. We have this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, I can't hear a thing. Hang on.
Thank you. Hello, Internet viewers. I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer. For some time now, I've been asked to review video games based on characters from the Marvel Universe, most notably Spider-Man. Now, there are countless amounts of Spider-Man games out there, but for now, I only want to focus on the Sam Raimi trilogy. Not only was this my introduction to Spider-Man in general, but it was also my introduction to Marvel Comics as a whole. It was probably best to dedicate an entire month to the web slinger. But before I start, it's probably best to get into the right attire. So in other words, have me dressed more appropriately. With that said, I wish to be Spider-Man.
Wow.
Perfect. You see, in order to properly play Spider-Man games and do them justice, you have to be Spider-Man. Actually, now that I think about it, I can't really breathe in this thing. Just a moment, please.
12 seconds later.
Much better. So, without further ado, this is Spider-Man month.
Wow. Wow, okay. Very OddGamer. Hold on. Presents Spider-Man month. Okay. Makes sense. Anyway. Spider-Man, the movie. Okay, makes sense in any way. And he needs to comb his hair anyway.
Now, before I even talk about the games, let's talk about how Spider-Man came to be.
Okay.
Spider-Man is one of the best superheroes in the Marvel Universe, let alone one of the best superheroes of all time. He made his debut in Marvel Comics in 1962 by Steve Ditko, and the king of all cameos, the late Stan Lee. The comics became a huge success and eventually led to movies, TV shows, as well as cartoons, a Universal attraction, a countless amount of merchandise, and even a Broadway musical of all things. Though I've not read any of the comic books, nor have I seen any of the TV shows.
Though I'm a huge fan of Bombshell, by the way, even though I haven't seen the comics and other things, bits and pieces, but you know, that's just me. Continue on.
Yet. My introduction to the web slinger was Spider-Man 2 in 2004 when I saw it in the theater.
Which I've not seen. I saw the first one, bits and pieces. I saw Spider-Man Homecoming in theaters. I've not seen the sequels yet. I've seen the Spider-Man 3 and bits and pieces, but it was alright, but and not for the end with the Brett part, but that's just me. And another thing was, it's not the worst movie ever seen, but the thing is, it was a good movie in my opinion. Continue on.
Eventually, I did watch the first Spider-Man movie on television, and we later owned the movie on DVD.
Yes, I own the first two on DVD. Not the third movie, as a matter of fact, because they have the third one released yet. Continue on.
It was that very DVD that introduced me to the Spider-Man video game, more specifically, hints and tips from the first 3 levels. It was these movies alone that actually piqued my interest in Spider-Man. And I then watched the later Spider-Man movies, including the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the MCU movies with Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Which I've not seen Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, but I saw bits and pieces of Amazing Spider-Man from childhood throwback. I've not seen the second one yet, but we'll get to that eventually. But I will see, I saw Spider-Man Homecoming, but not the sequels yet, as I mentioned before. Continue on.
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, which is a fantastic movie.
Which I've not seen yet. Continue on.
And of course, with a well-known franchise like Spider-Man, you expect to have multiple tie-in games. As I mentioned before, this month I'll be focusing on the Sam Raimi trilogy.
Okay.
First up, we have Spider-Man the movie game from 2002. For this review, I'll be looking at the Xbox One version, though I will give the GameCube version a quick look at as well. The game was published by Activision and was developed by Treyarch, a company that would later make the Call of Duty series. It starts off with an opening cutscene of Peter Parker getting bit by a spider and ultimately turning into Spider-Man. I really love this opening cutscene because it really gets me into the mood and makes me feel like a web slinger. A great way to introduce a movie tie-in game. Here's a little fun fact. Before Treyarch worked on this game, they did the Dreamcast port on the Spider-Man game in 2000 by Neversoft.
Wow. Wow. Wait, what did you say?
They did the Dreamcast port on the Spider-Man game in 2000 by Neversoft.
Okay, makes sense. But wow. Wow. Continue on.
This is why the game has a lot of similarities to the 2000 game, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
I also want to point out that this game was released on April 16th, 2002, which is
Makes sense.
13 days before the world premiere, or close to a month before the theatrical release.
Okay.
So those who played the game before watching the movie would probably be spoiled, but not by much. After starting a new game, you get a choice of training or a new game. Once you choose your control scheme, you then decide on your preferred difficulty. Keep in mind that you're automatically committed to that difficulty if it's been chosen. So before we get to the main game, let's start with training mode.
Greetings. Welcome to the tutorial. Yeah, I know, you want to get on with things, beat up the bad guys, do the whole superhero thing, blah, blah, blah. Well, everyone's got to start somewhere.
In case you're wondering, yes, that is Bruce Campbell you're hearing. He's basically the tour guide for this game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Shouldn't I go straight ahead to the campaign? Well, personally, I think it's a good idea to get used to the basic controls beforehand. Not to mention Bruce Campbell is hilarious in this game. Anyway, you move Spider-Man with the left control stick, jump as well as double jump, attack by punching and kicking as well as multiple combos, which you can unlock by finding these golden spider symbols. I do want to point out that you can figure out which combos you've unlocked in the pause menu, which is actually pretty helpful for me. In addition, you can climb walls, web swing, and web zip in various ways. There's also this yo-yo move, which I hardly ever use, but it looks pretty cool to say the least. In order to reach your objective within a level, you have both your compass and height meter, which lets you know how much higher or lower you are compared to the location of your objective.
Now, you are the little red dot, and your target is blue, so now's your chance to self-test for color blindness.
Makes sense.
But if you think the basic tutorial is just not enough, there are also these question marks that give you more helpful advice on what to do. Examples include using camera lock to lock on a certain opponent, which is very useful if you want to take care of that enemy that always gets on your nerves. Also, because I'm playing this game on the Xbox 360, I want to point out that the infamous black and white buttons are mapped with the L and R bumpers, just to avoid any confusion. Any damage taken costs a bit of health, and you die by either losing all your health or falling within a certain height. You know what's even worse? Having no checkpoints whatsoever. Meaning if you die at any point, then you have to start the level all over again. So to prevent this from happening, be sure to find these fire icons scattered around each level. Red fire icons give you more health, and blue fire icons give you more webbing. You heard right, Spider-Man has limited webbing in this game. Speaking of which, remember what I said earlier about the game being similar to the 2000 game? Well, the web attacks were taken from that very game, including web impact, shooting a web-like projectile, web yank that yanks enemies closer to you for better combat, web capture, which is self-explanatory, web gloves giving Spider-Man more power, and finally web dome, in which Spider-Man protects himself in a dome shield and takes out all enemies within a close range. Personally, I like using web impact and web dome because it gives you a better advantage of combat rather than just use your physical combos alone.
Good job, kid. You might just make something of yourself after all. Good luck. You're gonna need it.
Thanks, Bruce Campbell. So let's start this game. We get a brief prologue of how his powers can help Uncle Ben and Aunt May out, which he uses for a wrestling match against Bonesaw McGraw, not portrayed by Randy Savage, only to be cheated by the fight promoter.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
But the fight gets stolen as Peter's Uncle Ben gets shot down and left for dead. This leads to the first level of the game, Search for Justice. Spider has to beat up a certain amount of goons as he tries to find the identity of his uncle's killer. There's also a secret where you save a woman in distress from a couple of goons.
Wait, before you go, I lost my purse on one of the rooftops around here.
On a different rooftop?
Yes.
Different from this one?
Yes.
Are you serious? Are you taking some kind of tour of city rooftops?
Yes.
Okay, whatever. I'll find your purse for you.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what he does. Web swings to another rooftop, beats up more goons, and retrieves the purse, which he then gives back.
Try to stay off rooftops from now on. A lot of gang members seem to hang out up here.
I will. Thanks again.
After defeating more goons, Spider-Man captures and interrogates a gang member and it's revealed that Skull Gang leader Spike is the murderer behind this. But where
Yes.
is he, you may ask?
You probably in that little shipping warehouse. It's right on the river. That's all I know.
Wow.
Thanks.
And that's exactly where you head to next. I do want to point out that the Xbox version has a glitch where the dialogue and a few sound effects are non-existent in this very cutscene. In case you're wondering, here's what the cutscene is supposed to sound like.
Wow.
Sounds like the police are closing.
The audio music is from the GameCube version. Continue on.
They can have whatever's left after I'm done.
At the end of each level, you gain points based on level completion, how long it took to complete the level, how much damage you've taken, and so on. Not only that, but you're also given the opportunity to save your game, which is very crucial. On to the next level, Warehouse Hunt. First off, I love this line delivery from Bruce Campbell.
You see those heavily shadowed areas? Whenever you're in a shadowed spot like that, you become invisible to the bad guys.
Comedy gold. This level starts you off in stealth mode. However, if you get caught, you then lose stealth mode for the rest of the level. I do want to point out that some of these goons are armed with handguns and they will shoot you. There's also a secret area behind the boxes where you find a hidden health icon. It's also a level where you first use your Fire Stick, as well as using a vent to make your way from one area to another. Plus, Spider-Man can throw objects at enemies that somehow explode.
Yep.
Rather than that, just retrieve the electrical fuse to open the blast door and fight off more goons. Moving on to the next level, Birth of a Hero. After gaining entry to Spike's inner sanctum, you make your way through more air ducts and crawl on the ceiling to avoid detection. If you manage to reach the storage room, you'll find another stolen Spire icon that unlocks another combo. This is the first level where you use look-around mode, which allows you to aim your zipline wherever you want. Personally, I like using look-around mode, or zipline mode as I like to call it. Anyway, you have to defeat 10 armed gang members in order to get the key to Spike's lair. It's here where you find Spike. His arsenal includes a shotgun and flash grenades that aren't really that blinding. Also, it's important to note that bosses are too strong to web yank or web capture. So you can only defeat him with web impact as well as your physical combos. Spider-Man defeats Spike, therefore avenging his uncle's death.
No, you. Not you.
Stay back. Morning, you psycho.
We could have stopped you at the fight promoter's office.
Wow.
We could have saved
Wow.
Uncle Ben.
Spike falls off the building as Spider-Man pretty much leaves him dead. On to the next level, Oscorp's Gambit.
These are the years when a man becomes the man he's going to be for the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into. You're feeling this power of becoming a man, and with this great power comes great responsibility.
Wow.
After Spider-Man mourns the loss of his dear Uncle Ben, we're introduced via photographs to Mary Jane Watson, Harry Osborn, and his dad Norman, who runs Oscorp. A quick costume change later, and he vows to use his powers for good and fight evil in New York. Speaking of Norman, he and everyone at Oscorp investigate the appearance of the new hero. They're working on a super soldier serum in which they figure out that Spider-Man is what they need to complete the serum.
Yes.
They try to modify these robots called Hunter Killers, which they use to capture Spider-Man. Oh, and Norman pulls in for Palpatine.
Do it.
Since Parker now works for the Daily Bugle as a freelance photographer, the first objective is to take photos of Spider-Man, or carry it yourself. He then runs into the Hunter Killer robots armed with lightning projectiles and lasers. Let me tell you right now that these robots are relentless. You try to attack them in every way possible, but they also find a way to fight back. These robots are designed to test you both physically and mentally. Eventually, you do manage to defeat all 13 robots.
Wow.
But who says them?
Why, none other than Dr. Osborn, of course. This leads to the next level, the subway station. So Spider-Man finds a jewelry store being robbed. His Spider Sense believes that a villain named Shocker is behind the heist, only to find out that it's another villain, Vulture, the whole time.
Wow.
He sure took off in a hurry.
After Spider-Man performs a Matrix-style web shot on the back of the truck, Shocker barges into Grand Central Station with an electric blast.
Wow.
Not only do you have new goons to fight against, but this is also the first level where you have to protect allies. In this case, the police officers and the one random citizen. Also, every time you defeat one of these goons, they sound like this. It's actually hilarious the more I think about it.
So you must be Quilt Man, Padded Pete, Mr. Triple Ply? Oh, I've got it. The cushion.
I'm the Shocker.
Wow. Hang on, I'll be right back. I'm back, folks. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna redeem my Amazon gift card recently, and now I'm back. I just told Mom what happened, just blah blah blah, just what's been going on. Anyway, move on. Next.
Cushion.
I'm the Shocker. I tell you not to forget it, but you won't be around long enough to worry about that. Now say goodbye to Mr. Innocent Bystander, sucker.
Wow.
Shoots electric blast onto a pillar, and it's here where we're introduced to a new gameplay mechanic.
Wow.
Saving civilians from ongoing danger. By pressing the punch button, Spider-Man picks up a civilian and takes him or her to a marker on the floor. And you better be quick because the pillar could fall at any second, or have it fall after saving the civilian.
Wow.
You get more goons and save some officers as fires a hole on the ground through the sewers, and proceeds to the next level of the game, chase through the sewer. Shocker informs his goons about their next objective as Spider-Man arrives at the sewers. His goons are now armed with guns, like the goons he fought at the warehouse. And before I go any further, are these goons supposed to be ninjas? Because they aren't doing their job of being sneaky.
Yeah, Ninja Storm from Power Rangers. Continue on.
Anyway, eventually through the sewers, beat up more goons, and eventually ran into again.
It's time to stop that freak. Vic, make it happen.
I'm on it.
So Vic turns on the water, creating more dangerous electrical current and takes off the
Jesus.
which Spider-Man takes back by defeating Vic and turns off the water. By the way, if you manage to climb up to a hidden room with a switch, you'll then unlock a secret area underneath the water current where you'll find another golden spider icon. Other than that, you defeat the remainder of Shocker's gang and get the key to get out of the sewers. That is until makes his way to the subway tunnels as Spider-Man gives chase. On to the next level, showdown with Shocker. Shocker shoots electric blast at Spider-Man, which he avoids courtesy of his spider sense. I actually died in this section a whole lot during my first playthrough, many years ago.
Wow.
If you do get hit by Shocker's blast, you end up losing 1/3 of your health. However, you can avoid these blasts by web zipping in between each lane, which also means use zipline mode for the majority of the section.
Wow.
After taking an alternative path, Spider-Man catches up to
Come on, freak. You need to learn a lesson. And Shocker's School of Hard Knocks is now open.
Give me a break, Shock. I can't believe you have any class, let alone a whole school worth.
It then leads to a one-on-one battle against Shocker himself. Not only does Shocker have electric blast, like before, but he also has a tornado that could suck you in unless you master the Joestar secret technique. Eventually, you do
Kind of reminds me of the whole Samurai Jack thing, which I did a reaction video to it. Continue on.
Shocker with a few combat combos and web attacks. Not wanting to let Vulture get away with the loot, tells Spider-Man where to find Vulture.
It's a workshop set up in the old clock tower on the Lower East Side.
Moving on to the next level, Vulture's lair. After Spider-Man makes his way to the clock tower,
This is some nest.
Spider-Man has to make his way to the top of the tower while avoiding bombs, exploding spiders, motion sensor bombs, and the fiery log pendulum, or as Spidey calls it,
The old swing log of doom trick.
this level can be pretty boring, and for the most part, you can get lost if you don't know where you're going. After entering Vulture's workshop at the top, Vulture flies out of the clock tower as Spider-Man chases him down. Let's briefly talk about the other two Vulture levels. Vulture Escape is the first chasing level in which you have to catch up to Vulture by web swinging. But there are one or two moments in which Vulture destroys the leg of a billboard or water tower, and Spider-Man has to fix them both by webbing them. Finally, there's Air Duel with Vulture, in which you battle Vulture by flying and while grounded on top of the Chrysler building. Spider-Man defeats Vulture, leaving both him and the stolen loot for the police to investigate. On to the next level, Corral. Back at Oscorp, Robotnik is informed that there are two targets, both of them containing arachnid DNA, and wants to force both targets into the same area, killing two birds with one stone. It turns out the other target is revealed to be Scorpion, yet another villain from the comic books.
Wow.
Instead of flying killer robots, they use fire bots known as Fire Slayers, I think, to track down both Scorpion as well as Spider-Man, who was sent by Jameson to take photos of subway station repairs after the battle with Shocker. After a stopped elevator, both Spider-Man and Scorpion have to destroy 20 Spider bots. Let me point out right now that Scorpion is the worst ally in the entire game, because for the most part, he'll die without even noticing, which results in an automatic game over. Not to mention the music used for this level is just a medley of tracks you'd hear from a loop library. You might be able to recognize some of these tracks in
Oh God, no!
Cyber Chase, and even video games.
Okay.
Eagle's Overlook theme in Spyro 2 Reptile's Rage. After beating the Spyro robots, a paranoid Scorpion attacks Spider-Man, believing he's one of the Spyros that Oscorp sent. This leads to probably one of Scorpion's most stock lines from the game, as if it wasn't already stock enough.
Will I destroy you? Yes, I will.
And by the way, Josh, if you watch this episode of LJ Reacts right now, just first of all, I ignore the Cyber Chase characters, but I rather not ignoring them, but just say not ignoring them, but just criticize the Cyber Chase characters nonetheless. Continue on.
That was just plain rude.
Spider-Man goes after Scorpion as we transition to the next level, Scorpion's Rampage. They arrive at Grand Central Station as a one-on-one battle occurs between Spider-Man.
Oh, and by the way, before I continue on, that should be coming soon as Born Jokester. Just we're clearing things up, and by the way, I can't remember what I was trying to say. Oh yes. Just to make things clear, okay? I want to say that after I'm done with this for a while, because we used to love Cyber Chase, but not anymore. Continue on. Anyway, moving on.
And Scorpion, which honestly would not have happened had Scorpion not be so paranoid. Anyway, Scorpion has a laser tail attack that's pretty easy to dodge. But other than that, just defeat Scorpion while listening to some stock banter from both.
You're crazier than a soup sandwich.
How can you make jokes?
Careful, you're gonna poke your eye out with that thing.
Shut up. Shut up!
Is rust a hygiene issue for you?
Go back to your corporate masters.
Think you ought to take a little nap.
Lies. All lies.
Eventually, Spider-Man does defeat Scorpion. But one defeated Spider Robot's distracted later, and Scorpion escapes.
I feel bad for him, but I can't help hoping I've seen the last of him.
Well, in your case, it is. Scorpion doesn't appear in any of the other Raimi Trilogy tie-in games. Moving on to the next level, Coup d'etat. After fighting 3 villains for no reason other than to make the game longer, we finally get back to the plot of the movie. Osborn gets fired from Oscorp for not completing the serum in time, but decides to test it on himself. And to this game's credit, it actually does give an accurate recreation of the scene from the movie in which Osborn transforms into his alter ego, the Green Goblin. Even though it happened very early on in the film.
It's like a
At the
Frankenstein.
Unity Festival, we see both Mary Jane Watson and Harry Osborn. But the Green Goblin, now sporting a glider, experimental armor, and artillery of weapons, attacks everyone at the festival as an act of revenge.
Jesus!
The movie. Except for Mary Jane standing on a panda balloon. Actually, before we move on, let's talk about the voice acting. Besides Bruce Campbell as the tour guide, a couple of actors from the film actually reprised their roles for the game, including Spider-Man, voiced by Tobey Maguire, and Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, voiced remarkably by Willem Dafoe. However, both Mary Jane and Harry are not voiced by their movie actors. In fact, Harry Osborn in this game is voiced by Josh Keaton, who would later be known for voicing the Web-Slinger himself. However, there may be a reason as to why that is. You see, Josh Keaton was originally chosen to voice Spider-Man in this game. However, due to Maguire taking over the role, movie and all, Keaton's lines were preserved by adding the Green Goblin as a playable character. I'm not joking. If you manage to beat the game on hard mode, you unlock the Green Goblin as a playable character in which he can ride on his glider, shoot projectiles, throw bombs, and fully supplied with razor bats. But more on that later. Speaking of which, I was lucky to have Josh Keaton sign my copy of Spider-Man the movie game for the Nintendo GameCube.
Dude, you met Spider-Man?
Why, yes I did, Hooks. Yes I did.
That's awesome, dude! Hey, gamer?
Yes, Hux?
What's with the outfit?
Oh, it's Spider-Man month. I thought it'd be best to properly play Spider-Man games as Spider-Man.
Yes.
Nice! Anyway, I just wanted to see what's up. Later, dude!
Anyway, before Spider-Man fights the Green Goblin, he has to save Mary Jane Watson.
Okay.
After a small romantic banter while Panda falls into the face of the earth,
Go get him, Tiger.
Spider-Man fights the Green Goblin while saving the radio tower and bridge, again by webbing. Unlike with Vulture, these sections are very tolerable and you're able to get it done very quickly. And not because these sections have a time limit. Next level, the offer. Once again, Spider-Man fights the Green Goblin. Only this time you can make the glider overheat by hitting him a couple of times, as well as a few times where you can actually punch the Goblin on the glider. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's probably best to use your web attacks rather than your physical attacks because there's no way to fight against the Goblin with your physical combos. Eventually the Goblin is defeated again, but with a small twist. What twist, you may ask?
Throughout downtown, our bombs have planted, filled with a deadly gas. When they go off, well, use your imagination. You might be able
Very different. Continue on.
to stop them, or you can try to stop me. The choice is yours, hero.
The Goblin escapes as Spider-Man goes after the bombs. This leads to the next level and, fitting enough, battle against time. Just disable the amount of bombs required while under a time limit. Easy, right? Well, try doing that while avoiding spotlights and more hunter-killer robots. And for the love of Pete, avoid the spotlights. If you're spotted at any moment, you'll get bombarded by these robots, ultimately leading to your death. Anyway, Spider-Man disables all the bombs and tries to catch a breather.
Alright, Spider-Man, you've made your choice.
Now you're probably asking yourself, why is the game reviewing the Xbox version when he could review the GameCube version? Well, it turns out that there are two levels that are only exclusive for the Xbox. Let's take a look at these exclusive levels, shall we? Let's start off with Kraven's Test. Norman hires another villain, Kraven the Hunter, to hunt Spider-Man by luring him to the zoo via lighting the Spider-Man logo on fire. Not to mention, it's the only version that has J. Jonah Jameson, who unfortunately is not voiced by J.K. Simmons. And of course, he tells Parker to
Get me photos!
Okay, Mr. Jameson.
I bet money Spider-Man's involved somehow.
because Spider-Man's a criminal and you only touch your barber, blah blah blah. Spider-Man arrives at the zoo where he not only meets Kraven, but also lethal gas to poison Spider-Man. Not to mention the fact that Kraven pretty much rigged the zoo with bear traps, spikes, and fire. Like Spider-Man or Saw. I wouldn't be surprised knowing that Sam Raimi has directed horror movies in the past.
Wow.
Also, if you-
No, stop.
I wouldn't be surprised knowing that Sam Raimi has directed horror movies in the past.
Wow, Evil Dead, The Gift, The Army of Darkness. Jesus. How's that even gonna work out the way it used to be? Continue on.
There's also a few sections in which Spider-Man has to run by a hallway while avoiding Kraven's rifle shots.
Wow.
Thankfully, you can avoid them by standing in front of a pillar. Do the same thing twice, and you're off to the last exclusive level, the Mighty Hunter.
Flames to bar the walls, electricity to block the sky. You are Cage Spider.
It's basically a one-on-one battle against Kraven in which you both use your physical and web attacks to defeat Kraven. However, Kraven does have a secret weapon. By drinking a potion, he goes berserk and runs at you with a machete, giving him invincibility for a short time. There are some other areas to explore, such as the snake pit, with snakes that never attack me, but a good place to pick up some health. And multiple ways to get back to the main fighting area, whether by hallway or by airbend. Eventually, you do defeat Kraven, and he gives you the antidote.
Who put you up to this?
I did what I did. For the challenge of it. That is all I will say.
Spider-Man hangs up Kraven via webbing, leaving him for the police. So do the Kraven levels add anything important to the overall game? No. In fact, these two levels are pretty much the same as the other villain levels in this game, with the exception of Green Goblin. In other words, the Kraven levels are another way to pad the game, making it even longer than it needs to be. In the other versions, the level after battle against time is the Razor's Edge, which I'll talk about very soon. In fact, listen to the very first line of the cutscene for that level.
Okay, no more distractions. I have to find that Green Goblin creep and stop whatever it is he's cooking up.
In the Xbox version, the distraction is trying to stop Kraven at a saw-like zoo. In the other versions, I can assume that the distraction is the bombs at the Goblin planet in which Spider-Man has to disable. Personally, I think the bombs are a better use of a distraction than Kraven. He wastes more of your game time and never shows up again after fighting him. You just remove Kraven from the game, like the other versions, and nothing will be changed.
Yeah.
Look on the bright side. The Kraven levels look amazing, and I love the overall challenge of them. But if you want to add a character to your story, then at least give him an overall purpose for being in the game.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about it. So with that out of the way, let's move on to Razor's Edge. It's similar to the encounter with the Hunter Killer robots early on, except that you're fighting Razor Bats. You can defeat them with your swing kick or use your web attacks. They pretty much take one hit, so pretty easy. However, if you need to stock up on health or webbing, you can find them scattered around rooftops. After defeating at least 50 Razor Bats, web swing your way to a construction site to hide from goblins.
Dang, what's this thing? I need to get home and study it. Maybe it'll give me a clue about goblins.
Yep.
On to the next level, breaking and entering. Peter examines a broken Razor Bat piece and learns that it was made in Oscorp. Because of this, he decides to go to Oscorp to research his connection with the Green Goblin. It's another stealth level in which you have to remain undetected, this time from security guards. Metal Gear Spider-Man, everyone. You can web them, but you'll potentially put yourself in danger. Also, avoid these spotlights if possible. If you somehow get caught, the alarms will go off. Once that happens, you have to hide quickly because they'll also release super soldier robots. And of course, be sure to stay hidden until the alarms die off and you're in the clear from the robots. Anyway, Spider-Man has to find 5 active computers that each hold a piece of the overall code needed to unlock a blast door. Once that's done, make your way to the security door and line up the 5 pieces together to unlock the blast door. This leads to probably the worst level in the game, Chemical Chaos. Spider-Man figures out that Oscorp is producing highly dangerous chemical weapons, which might contain an accidental release that can lead to terrible casualties. Thankfully, Spider-Man is here to take care of those chemicals.
It's fairly complicated, so for now, just find one of the control rooms that oversee chemical injections into the central vat. I'll give you a radio so that we can communicate once you get there. Be careful.
Thanks, Doc.
Once again, you have to avoid being detected by patrol guards in the corridors. Luckily, this level is forgiving at the very least, in which you can also use the ceiling, shadowed or not, to avoid detection. However, you also have to avoid lasers that can also set off an alarm if you touch any one laser. So it's best to use zipline mode for these sections. But this is not the main objective in this level. You see these 4 blocks on the right side of your screen? Those are actually the control rooms that contain chemical injections the scientists mentioned earlier.
You have to activate them in the correct sequence, or you'll release the chemicals.
Definitely something I'll want to avoid.
So Spider-Man has to activate control rooms A and B and go back to the central chamber and start the injection process and repeat for control room C and D. And that's exactly what you do. By the way, did I mention this game has no checkpoints? I said it before and I'll say it again. If you die no matter how much progress you made, then you have to start the level all over again.
Jesus.
Anyway, it all goes well until you reach control room D, in which...
Doc, this door is locked.
Let me look into it. Spider-Man, be careful. Dr. Rue, the head of the project, seems to have figured out that something is wrong. He's headed your way. You'll need to get the key from him. He's the only one who has it. He has some super soldier robots with him. Be very careful.
You take out Dr. Rue with one hit, get the key to unlock and activate control room D, and quickly make your way to the central chamber to finish the injection process, therefore shutting down the operation. Moving on to the next level, Oscorp's ultimate weapon. This giant robot has a super cannon which Spider-Man has to avoid. You'll know when it goes up once your Spire Sense activates. In order to defeat the robot, you have to destroy the sensor array. However, before doing so, you have to destroy these shield generators, all while trying to avoid more hunter-killer robots that are patrolling the area. After destroying the shield generators, just defeat the sensor array by punching and kicking away. The giant robot is defeated, leaving a hole for Spider-Man to escape to. This leads to the next level, Escape from Oscorp. Spider-Man arrives at Norman's office, only to find out that the Goblin is now after Mary Jane as a trap for Spider-Man, which is kind of similar to the movie, except not having to use a phone at all. Also, it's important to know that Aunt May is nowhere to be seen in this game. Anyway, Spider-Man now has to get out of Oscorp in order to save Mary Jane from the evil Goblin. But first take care of a few robots, as well as disabling the security system, which includes a laser field and gun turrets. Just get through a couple of energized doors and web swing your way to the air vent, therefore ending the level. Up next we have, well, this just gave it away, Mary Jane kidnapped.
Wow.
Mary Jane returns to her apartment only to have her, you guessed it, kidnapped by the Green Goblin. It's similar to the chase with Vulture, only you don't have to stop and fix anything. But you do have to avoid pumpkin bombs that Goblin has left behind. Just chase Goblin around the city and at least the final level of the game, face off at the bridge. Both Spider-Man and the Goblin make their way to Greensboro Bridge, in which Spider-Man not only has to save Mary Jane, again, but he also has to defeat the Green Goblin once and for all. It's pretty much the same as the Offer, in which you fight the Goblin by air and on land. So there's really nothing much to talk about except how the glider can attack you as well. After a few hits, the Green Goblin is finally defeated. He announced himself as, who else? Norman Osborn. And yeah, his in-game model is not as good as the FMV model in my opinion. And if you've seen the movie, you probably know what happens next. Goblin gets accidentally impaled by the glider, leaving him...
And he keeps editing out one for some reason. Why?
But not until he says his final words.
Tell Harry I'm sorry.
Which is the exact opposite of what he said in the movie.
Don't tell Harry.
But the same result regardless. The game ends with both Spider-Man and Mary Jane giving a loving yet passionate kiss while trying not to reveal his secret identity to her. Oh, and Spider-Man breaks the fourth wall.
Looks like you're done now. Go outside and play.
Well, in this case, I'm not done yet because there's still much more to cover. So with that said, on the other game modes. First up, there's a secret storage in which you unlock more features, whether by gaining enough hero points or by beating the game on a certain difficulty. They include animation text for Vulture in a subway, as well as Shocker in a power plant, and even Pinhead Bowling, which is pretty much bowling and nothing else. In addition to unlocking the Green Goblin, as mentioned before, you can even play Spider-Man in the following skins. Peter Parker, Wrestling Spider-Man, and the Alex Ross design Spider-Man, with a special design for the Goblin. Out of all the training modes in this game, the one I like most is basic combat, in which you fight multiple enemies in a wrestling ring, and eventually fight Bonesaw McGraw as the final boss. The other training modes are pretty much self-explanatory. You can also view production art of the game, which looks pretty cool to say the least. But probably the best feature in this game is the cheat codes. They include playing in first-person view, skipping to the next level, having unlimited webbing, Matrix-style fighting, and even play as additional characters from the game with the same moveset as Spider-Man, like Shocker, a cop, a cyborg, one of the goons, a scientist, and even the guy who killed Uncle Ben. However, there is one cheat in this game that's so controversial, it even got removed in later versions of the game. That cheat is playing the game as Mary Jane.
Wow.
Code Girl Next Door, you still play as Spider-Man but in Mary Jane's skin. But why is it so controversial? It's because of one scene. This one scene from the very end of the game. Watch and marvel at its gloriousness.
Mary Jane, there's something I have to tell you.
I know, Tiger. You don't have to say.
I honestly can't believe this even exists. I mean, you saw this, right? Mary Jane just kissed Mary Jane. But due to perceived lesbianism and
yeah, I know that, right? The latest comic book legends learned the Spider-Man video game cheat code that was moved when it ended up. Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah. I did not know that, actually. Perceived lesbian, I did not know that,
It was later removed in later versions of the game. This explains why I can't get the code to work on the Platinum Hits version on the Xbox. However, I did get the code to work on the GameCube, despite it being the player's choice version. Weird.
Weird, yeah.
Graphically, it looks amazing. This game perfectly replicates New York inside and out. The models look amazing for a GameCube Xbox game, and the levels look pretty well designed. Even the secret areas are well thought out. Also, the game managed to pretty much replicate most, if not everything, from the movie perfectly. I really love the FMV cutscenes, and some of them even replicate scenes from the movie pretty well. As for the music, what can I say about it? Even though Danny Elfman wasn't involved in the game's soundtrack, it does have a bit of Elfman vibes that work pretty well. Michael McCoyston did an incredible job with the game's music. And I personally believe the music used for the Scorpion levels worked really well. Even though it's pretty much a compilation of library loops. After going back to this game after only a few years, is the game still as good as I thought it was? Absolutely.
Hooray.
While it's not a perfect representation of the movie, it does have some enjoyable elements, making the game really fun to play. The graphics look incredible, and it does match the realism of the movie as well as a few aspects from the comics. While the in-game models look pretty jagged, the animation from the cutscenes look pretty good both in-game and FMV. Gameplay-wise, it feels really good to be the web slinger himself. I love the combo attacks as well as the web attacks, despite having not played the Spider-Man game from 2000. The ability to lock on certain enemies, and even the zipline mode. But even with a good game, it still has some issues. For one, it'd be nice to have Spider-Man not fall from a certain height, which thankfully is changed in the sequel, and at the very least have a checkpoint system for the longer levels. Having to repeat the level from the beginning after every death can get monotonous, and it still bothers me to this very day. Also, even with the game's padding, it can take you around 3 hours to beat the game, which isn't that long. But other than that, it works really well with multiple characters to play as, and with different modes to choose from. While most of the game's music is not as memorable as the movie, there's still some enjoyable tracks, especially the loop library that is Scorpion's theme. Overall, the Spider-Man movie game is a fantastic game, and I would recommend this game to any Spider-Man fan looking for a good movie tie-in game, or at least something you could cherish for years to come. So it's probably best to watch the movie first to get a better understanding. So with the first Spider-Man movie and game being a huge success, you expect to have a sequel made. Luckily, there was. So next time we meet, we're going to take a look at the tie-in game based on the movie that introduced me to the web slinger, Spider-Man 2 for the Nintendo GameCube. Until then, I'm your friendly neighborhood Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck for the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone. How's it going, dudes? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified for upcoming videos. Also, be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as my character buddies on TikTok and video commissions. Links to those in the description below. Speaking of character buddies, here's one of them right now to finish off the video.
Yeah. Wow! For courtesy of 360 degrees of Disney. It makes more sense to me. Donald, continue on. Okay. 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 So that was the Fairly Odd Gamer, episode 41, Spider-Man the movie. What do I think about the game, something like that? What do I think about this episode? I think it was amazing. So far, this episode was a complete success. And that was LJPCBM episode number 899. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next episode of LJPCBM, which is the 900th episode. Special event of LJPCBM. Now, excuse me, I gotta do my lunchtime episode, and then we're gonna do my shopping to do for my Prime Day. This is the final day of Prime Day schedule, and then that will be it. Until next time, Sue Jones and Bob, peace of baby. We get one to be as guys pursue. Till next week out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.